dear distinguished guests, dear colleagues and students. First of all, excuse my English today. I'm not a native speaker. I'm a communication scientist, but normally in German language. So I beg your pardon, the translators, to be in a good shape now the next 30 minutes, that all the audience will understand my ideas. Thank you for the invitation and to give me the chance to present some results of our studies I did by myself, or I conducted them with students who make their doctoral degree and so on. I will bring you in another field of sports, not longer in physical activity, but now in sports media, in sports journalism, and in sports communication. During the last 38 years, I tried to establish this field of sports communication at German universities, and at the beginning of the 70s, all people were laughing about me. I had to do some scientific work in the political area, in the economic area, and so on. But nowadays, after 38 years, they respect me. The reason is that sports in our society, not only in the German society, but in the Europe societies, grew up, became more and more important for most of the people. So the brand of sports, the value of sports, the importance of sports communication are very, very high. It increases during the last 20 years. We have the highest rates in television for sports program, especially for football, I will show you. Most pages in print media, in dailies, in weeklies are sports pages, and we have a high interest in the internet, in the online communication with sports news and so on. Over 45 million people in Germany, it's nearly the half, are interested in sport, and over 80 million people practice football in Germany. So, the first conclusion is to consume sport as a member of the audience in the stadium, before the television, to be active in sport and to communicate about sport is a daily #1 for most German people. I know a little bit about the Turkish society, and I know a little bit about Turkish media, and I think it's very similar in your home country, what I tell you about Germany and many Western countries in Europe. So I did several studies during the 19th, national studies on the topic of sports journalism, and international studies in 96 and in 98, a worldwide study. Especially the study for Germany was the first representative poll for sports journalists, the first time we collect data from their professional field. And we added in 2004 with a colleague from the Sports University in Cologne. He makes the first time an online poll, no face-to-face interview or written, a postal interview, but an online poll. And in 2010, another guide of my team from the Technical University in Munich did the same. So we can compare all the results beginning in the 90s and going up actually 2010 in some topics. That are the topics and the contents of our questionnaire. Personal attitudes you can see on these charts, and we try to make them very, very similar or equal in all this study for the comparison. So the first result, a very interesting result, is the relationship between men and women, or male and female, working in sports journalism. And you see over 90% 8% male and only 6.7 or 7% female. This changes a little bit, as you can see, in 2010 and goes up to 11.5. So the second conclusion is, if you go in the field of sports journalism, it's from men, about men, to men. It's a bastion, it's a big field of men in the audience, in the pages in print, the television, and especially in doing their jobs. So the functions and the tasks of sports journalists to inform, to entertain, to criticize, or to give idols to the audience. You see here the 3 different studies during the 19th for Germany, worldwide and international. To inform, it's very similar, nearly equal. To entertain, it's a little bit different. Most German sport journalists want to entertain, over 70%. And then to criticize, it's a big difference between the German and the international colleagues. The German likes more to criticize. We have the news factor negativism in Germany. If you do it in a right way, you have no chance to be in the media. If you do something wrong, you had big space in the media. So sometimes it's better doing a little bit wrong to be caught by the media. And you see its function and task in the new study from 2010. To inform is nearly the same, very, very stable in all these studies from 95, 2004 and 2010. Only to transmit idols, it's going higher, it increases, but trends to report about trends is reducing during the last 10 years. If sports journalists have influence or effects, what they mean, 85% of the German sports journalists said, yes, we have large influence. 72 of the international journalists said we have influence. And if you compare this data with a new study in 2010, you say it's the same, 85%. The midst of the 90s, the end of 2010 are the opinion that they have influence, that they were effective, that they were powerful. And the other side of the coin, if you personally mean you have big effects for your audience and for the sports system, you have to be very responsible with it. To do fair play with the athletes as a journalist. I always try to give this idea to my students in Germany, to be responsible with your power you have in a professional way. The second chance, if sports journalists have the opinion, have the chance for a second time to choose his job. She said, yes, I will be a sports journalist again. Around 70% of all sports journalists said, we will do it again. Conclusion number 3, they love their job. They have a highly emotional relationship to their job. More than a scientist, more than a teacher, more than a manager in the industry. They love their job. Many, many stress factors. A job without Sunday, very high pressure from the other media, and so on. But they love their job, they would take the second chance, and you see the figures are nearly the same from 95 to 2010, around 68%. Sports journalists produce, or sports journalists are what they produce. Heroes or victims. You see the difference. They like to produce heroes, yes, but they don't like to produce victims. But we all know sometimes you are a hero in sport and sometimes you are a victim. We have in Germany many examples from Boris Becker, Steffi Graf, Michael Schumacher and so on. Sometimes there are heroes and sometimes there are victims, but the sports journalists said no. We produce more heroes than victims. And look at the figure here from the sports journalists worldwide and international. Only 26% said yes, we are experts in our job. Imagine a pilot by an airline says no, I'm not an expert. A doctor in a hospital said no, I'm not an expert. Only 26% abroad says we are expert in our job. We have to educate. We have to establish and build up some academies. The same question 2010, you see a little bit in the red line, a little bit differentiation, but the relationship between heroes and victims is nearly the same. There's nothing happened the future developments sometimes in the 90s, they will say they were good. A little bit later, you can see it from 75% to 44%. That was a crisis in the economy and the media crisis and the IT crisis. So they said we have no future development. And you see, yes, here in 2010, that we grew up a little bit because they are more hopeful. Yes, values in sport. The income, the netto income is very important because here you can see the difference between men and women. The red line is the women line, the blue line is the men line, and you see around 2,500 euros. The men earn much more than the woman in this field. I think you can put it out for some jobs in some different marks. It will always be the same. A new category we put into our studies was a relationship between television and internet, and how this relationship will be during the next 10 years. The first one is of concurrence, of challenge, of substitution. The second one, the last one, 36%, is there will be one media in 10 years. You don't can say what is internet or what is television, and no chances will say 90%. The same question for the relationship between internet and daily newspaper, and you see the internet substitute the print media, 21%. One medium, internet and print media, 22%, and no chances, no Veränderung, 11%. The future of triple play, you have heard about this. Triple play is to connect telephone with TV and with internet. Good chances only for nearly 20% of our users. So let me go in the second field, in the media research and sports media. You see here the media world in Germany nowadays with independent newspaper, local editions, weekly Sundays, over 350 radio stations, then TV channels, one TV, pay TV channel, mobile channel, and the IPTV and the web TV is increasing dramatically during the last 5 or 6 years. That's a wonderful result of media research to see the top 10 programs for 2010, which has the highest rate of market share and the highest rate of viewers. Look at this. 10 times football. No news, no economic program, no scientific program, no service-orientated program, no, not at all. Only football. And I can imagine in this year with the European Football Championship, it will be nearly the same. Perhaps the opening ceremony from the Summer Olympics in London have the chance to come in the top 10 in Germany. Here, the other way is, the other side of the coin is that in sports magazines like Sportbild, with the highest circulation and the highest number of copies in Germany, you see the way is decreasing. It goes in the direction of television, it goes in the direction of internet, and it goes away from the direction of print media. It's our conclusion number 4 and number 5, that there will be a big chance in traditional media to the so-called new media. The second sports magazine is Kicker, and you see the same trend, a little bit stronger than in Sportbild. Then we have the internet study, the online study from the first and the second German television stations. They make questions on the development of using internet, a study once a year with 1,800 interviews in this field. You see the using in minutes per day from the different media here. The blue line is a television line, the red line is the radio line, and the green line is the internet line. And the winner is the internet. It comes out up to 80 minutes. Nowadays it's around 90 minutes a day in your leisure time, not in a professional way using internet, but in your free time, in your leisure time. Here you see nearly 74% of people in Germany use internet. It was a dramatic, successful story during the last 10 years. We have 2 types of internet users. The first time are the young people that are the digital natives. They were born and grew up with digital communication. And the second one are the digital immigrants, like me, the older persons. They call them sometimes silver user in Germany. And this group of digital immigrants grew up and grew up and grew up during the last years. There are very many courses in academies, in schools, for older people to get ready with the internet. Here you see that sports information is at the end of this field. First of all, in the frequency of using very often are news, then information about job or education, then about service, local information, scientific news, and around 20% for sports information. So, it was a very short, hopefully clear, and for you good to understand some ideas of my work in the wonderful field of sports communication. Thanks for your attention and have a nice day.
Thank you.
Then we have television by cable. Then we have television by satellite. Now we have television by cable again, but with a digital cable we have the possibility of many, many programs, And some programs will be free in future. Some programs we have to pay a fee for a month or a year. And some programs we pay per view or per channel. And in this package of television, will be integrated all the facilities you have nowadays in internet. So in 5 years or 7 years, perhaps 10 years, you will have only one multifunctional display, and you can't say, is it television or is it internet? Or is it the first German television station or the second one? No, you will have 300 or 500 television programs with different to pay a fee or free, and you will have all the facilities in the internet. So I have one big screen in my working room, in my bedroom, wherever, and you can do it all with a small tastatur, I don't know the right word in English. You can all do it, and you can see all what you want, and you can be interactive with your colleagues or your friend or your girlfriend. It's all possible. And this one will be in the next step all mobile. So you are not bounded for the special place. You can go everywhere and get your information, your program you want. You can decide by your own, is it a good development or is it a bad development? That's more a cultural question or a political question. But the technical question is solved now. It was too long, I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Another question or sorusu olan başka? Evet, hocam buyurun.
We have in Germany some studies about media behavior from Turkish people in Berlin, in the capital of Germany, because there is a biggest amount of Turkish people living over there. And the main result of this study is that Turkish people in Germany watch Turkish television. They watch the programs you can see here in your homeland, and the politicians in Germany said it was not a very good development for integration Turkish people in the German communities. That's the first answer. The second answer is, I'm not very familiar with the content of Turkish media, but I knew from many discussions and many congresses here in Turkey that sport, and especially football, has a higher rate of interest than in Germany. Therefore, I'm quite sure if you put these figures from Germany in the interesting of sports and the using of sports program, you can make an amount of 10% for the Turkish people. And an opinion whether the Turkish program and the Turkish media have a high quality or not, I can't express because I'm not so familiar with this. I'm sorry.
Okay, thank you. Başka var mı?
Opinions, or as you want to tell them. Journalists have to say there are no fans. That's the first one. They have to say there are no fans. Who is so violent and who is angry and who is aggressive is no fan. And journalists must start, all the journalists in Germany, perhaps in Turkey too, must start to say there are no fans. We said in our poll, they are idiots, they are chaoten, I don't know the right word in chaotic, they are idiots, they want to make trouble, they are troublemaker, troubleshooter, and so on. Therefore, the journalism, and especially the sports journalism, is very, very responsible. And it's very, very important how they call them, how they tell them, how they transmit, yes, their real mental thinking.
So can we say they do contribute to violence?
They?
The sport journalists contribute to violence also?
Yeah.
Yes, okay. Thank you. Professor Hackforth, thank you for being here and thank you for the